You very quickly realize what it's good at, and very quickly also realize where its limitations are and where you can't rely on it anymore. But it can do some pretty impressive things. And if you can figure out how to structure your prompts, both in terms of individual prompts, but also think about a strategy about like having a sort of conversation with it, because it has this ability to remember prior information. Although even there, it has its limitations, you can actually create some really interesting things. And I think if they actually can, I don't know if we're quite there yet, but this could be a very interesting tool for people who aren't programming literate to actually do things that right now it can only be done by technical folks.
Aaron, where were you on it? Was it new languages that you weren't familiar with, or were you just testing something that you were familiar with it? Or what did you find the use cases that were actually showing a lot of promise?
For example, I do data analytics. I don't design websites or something like that, but I'm familiar. I use Python often in my day-to-day. So I'm familiar with some frameworks, but I've never built a website. But I said to it, hey, could you design a website, a backend for a website using a particular Python framework to build this website? It said to me, no. But what's interesting is it says no, but then if I sort of prompted it a step-by-step, kind of way, if I'm like, what would you do to build that website? And then it gives me a list of things. And then I go to each list of those things and I say, okay, here's list number one. How would you do thing number one? It then gives you an answer to that. And it sort of becomes this a tree-like structure with these branches that as you start to attack every single branch, and it will kind of remember things. And so it was kind of doing things that I had no idea how to do. And then I ran the code and I was like, oh, this for the most part works really well. It has some errors here and there. Sometimes it forgets certain things. If this makes any sense, it forgets import statements. It forgets variables at times that it named, but otherwise it does have this sort of high level structure of what it's doing that is very accurate. And if you can sort of debug some of its errors, you can reduce the amount of time that it